Shabbat Shalom, I'm Robert Barr, and you are?
Mike Richardson.
And I am delighted you're here, and you're going to learn more about Mike in a few minutes, but we're going to begin our service with a reading to get us into the Shabbat mood.
Okay. 6 days we speak, tonight we listen. 6 days we build, tonight we rest. 6 days we take care of others, tonight we nurture ourselves. 6 days we work to change our world, tonight we are renewed by what is eternal. 6 days we plan for the future, tonight we are enveloped in the present. 6 days we eat and drink in haste.
Tonight we savor the taste of bread and wine and feel the bond of the world that feeds us. 6 days we teach, tonight we learn. 6 days we hear the clamor, tonight we listen for clarity. 6 days we struggle to expand our influence. Tonight we are dissolved in a greater influence. 6 days we focus our vision at the task at hand. Tonight we look beyond what we can see. May each of us find our Sabbath peace. Shabbat Shalom. So as I said, I'm Robert Barr, Mike Richardson, and we are delighted you're joining us for this Shabbat service. Those of you who have joined us before not understand what ourjewishcommunity.org is. It is a global community that wraps literally around the world, that has this bold voice of Judaism that speaks to modernity, that understand that while we respect our ancestors, we aren't our ancestors. While we think about the past, we have to be more focused upon the future and what is becoming, about our responsibilities to create a strong and dynamic Jewish community. Tonight, we're going to really be focusing on that idea of reach, how a community here based in Loveland, Ohio at Congregation Beth Adam that began 36 years ago took this idea of using the internet to create a larger community beyond the walls of Cincinnati. And Mike was touched by that, and it's here from, you could hear an accent. It was not a Kentucky accent, I'm telling you. It's a San Antonio accent. We're going to talk about that. So we're glad you're here. If you're watching in real time, if you're online now, I'm guessing you're chatting with one another. And I know that many of you wind up watching this in the archives. We know that, in fact, most people watch this at some other time because there are people in different parts of the world for whom it's the middle of the night or very, very early in the morning, and they want to watch it when it's convenient. So if you're watching live, feel free to chat. If you're watching in archives, always leave a message. Those messages are retained in the live stream that we're using. So we're delighted you're here. We're going to continue with the candle lighting, and then we're going to have a very interesting conversation. On Shabbat, we light the candles. Candles bring forth light, illuminating the darkness. Candles offer us warmth, providing comfort. Candles awaken us as we reach for possibilities. As we light these candles, let us use their light to stretch beyond ourselves, touching others, bettering our world. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or b'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. So, Robert Barr, Mike Richardson, and I met Mike in person today.
Yes.
But we've known each other longer as a function of ourjewishcommunity.org. You knew me before I knew you.
Yeah, for a number of years.
So when did you start watching services? And then
About 8 years ago.
Wow. So you were one of the early.
Yeah, pretty much. My wife discovered it. We had been discussing options, and she said, you have to see this. So we started, I think, with high holiday services probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and it just kind of expanded from that to where this is the only thing we really did watch
that's great.
online for the services.
Well, that's exciting because, and the reason I wanted to talk about, we're going to get into a little bit different conversation in a minute, but this piece of it is so important because it's an affirmation for me, for the folks involved at Congregation Beth Adam, that the work that we're doing and the way we're recreating community really is touching. And when we started this whole idea really 9 years ago, 10 years ago, before we got it online, we thought about it, we hoped, but we didn't know exactly what it could become or would become. And that you came all the way from San Antonio to be here tonight to participate in the service and to participate in a bricks and mortar service, that your wife here and your daughter's here. It really speaks to the sense of community that can be built through ourjewishcommunity.org.
Definitely.
And it was interesting. We were talking. It was the voice of the congregation and what we were doing that spoke to you.
Definitely. It was the message grabbed me, but I had been searching for something that fit my need, I guess, to be able to express how I felt, and it clicked. So it was, and for Laura too, I think she really resonated with the way things, the literature and what you had to say, and so it made a big difference to us.
Good. Good. So we're glad, and you're actively involved in the wider Jewish community down in San Antonio.
Yes, we're involved with the Hebrew Free Loan Association.
Put a plug in for it right now. You got to.
But we're basically the staff of the Hebrew Free Loan Association in San Antonio.
Can you explain what that is? Because not every city has a free loan society. We were talking. Cincinnati does not. I used to be in Toronto.
Right.
It does.
It's based on Mishpatim. It's based on the quote that are from the Torah that you shall not charge my people interest as a loan, not treat them as a debtor. And all of the Hebrew Free Loan associations and societies are based on that theory and quote. So Hebrew Free Loan associations don't charge interest for members of the Jewish community. Some serve a wider secular community as well, but there's no interest, no collateral. It's simply cosigners and goodwill and good faith.
And you said there's about 100 in North America?
I think there are close to that.
I mean,
the international group.
We're getting information from behind the camera. That's a no. There's not quite 100. Okay, because I know, and it's a great. You should look in your community. They'll do business loans.
Right.
They'll do student loans and just unsecured personal loans. They're really significant. And a lot of communities, when people move to America, I know in Toronto, that's how it started. Basically, the immigrant community really wanted to help itself and help each other, and they created these societies, and that they still exist.
Many of them were built in the late 1800s. Ours was established in 1924 as a Jewish community got large enough to have a community center and a federation, and so these organizations sprang up to help the community get established. And
well, that's wonderful. It's interesting. I just think it's interesting. It's important for people to know about that. And what's interesting, you've been involved in the Jewish community for quite a long time.
That's true. 33 years now.
We're getting signals from a 33 or 32. We're getting different numbers from behind the camera.
Well, my wife is Jewish, and I wasn't, and we got married 33 years ago next week. So
there you go.
That involved me, and pretty much lived a Jewish life since then. However, I just never converted till.
And that's what brought you to Cincinnati.
That's right.
So we're going to do tonight on the Bricks and Mortar, during our Bricks and Mortar service, when members from the congregation are here, we're going to do what we call an Adopting Judaism ceremony. And Mike was kind enough to share his experience, going to share his experience and how you came to that. I know I get calls every once in a while about asking people asking me if I can do Adopting Judaism ceremonies around the country and around the world. I don't do very many. It's very hard, you're special. So I just wanted you to know that. Everyone's special, but Mike's real. It's just hard. There's a time involved in it, and your particular, you had a lot of education.
I was further down the road than you would have to take someone starting from scratch.
Right, and that actually was part of it, or part of the difference, because you'd actually studied with some other rabbis in other cities, hadn't had a chance to formalize it, and was so involved in the Jewish community, it really made sense. And yours was this sort of long 30-plus year journey.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but I'm glad it's ended here, and then it's just beginning.
Right. Right.
So.
And that's really exciting, and for us it's meaningful on many levels. I want to talk a little bit about our approach, because we use the phrase adopting Judaism, and the service is a service of affirmation, rather than the notion of conversion. The word conversion to me always is like when I lived in Europe when I actually went to Israel for the very first time, you got a converter and you plugged into the wall, and then the electric went in one way and came out differently. I don't think people are like that. I think people adopt something. It's a mutual embrace that takes time and occurs over years, months, or years, and that's exactly what you've done, where you've acculturated. You live the Jewish calendar. You live the Jewish experience.
Right, and we have a friend who he started out in the conservative congregation. Now he's a member of the Orthodox. We've known him since before we were married, and when I told him, or my wife told him what we were doing, he said, well, it's about time. I mean, he's been more Jewish than a lot of people I know, and he has been for a long time. And I think some of the people just assume I am because of our marriage and the way we live. But,
Right.
That's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to.
And what does it mean to have a formal ceremony? I mean, because after 30 some years of living essentially a Jewish life, tonight is going to change. Well, how's it going to change it? How do you?
I don't think it's going to change the way I live a bit, but a quick backstory. I was a reporter for many years. I never joined a political party. I didn't feel like it was right, so I've never voted in a primary. So it's sort of like saying, okay, now I can say I've joined a political party. I have taking a stance, and I'm a member of this group. And to me, that's important, to be able to say I am a part of this group, religion, I don't know how many terms, people.
Sure.
There's all kinds of terms, but it's just being a part of something officially that makes a difference to me.
Right, and it's interesting because I think the labels we carry really are important. They help identify us. They put us in a people understand who we are as relationship to our labels. And when
Right.
people said to you, well, are you Jewish? And you go, kind of, sort of.
You're right. What could I say? Not officially.
Not
No.
officially, right. And there is no, what's interesting, there is no official, because we're not a hierarchical religious institution, there is no one orthodoxy or one hierarchy that decides who is or isn't Jewish. But the reality was you understood sort of you hadn't come out of that particular structure, and so
Right.
the label didn't quite fit.
Right. And if you're not born Jewish, then you have to have some way to formally say, now I am.
Right.
I know in dealing with the Hebrew Free Loan, we have to determine whether someone's Jewish because our particular organization only lends to members of the Jewish community.
Right.
So that's an important distinction in that area, and so it makes it difficult to say, well, no, not officially.
Right, and that's interesting because how we decide who's Jewish. There is old Talmudic law that that comes out of birth that really represents probably early aspects of Judaism that happened to be tribal at one
Right.
time. It was about and it was about the mother giving birth, even though in biblically patrilineal descent was significant because they were recognized the issue of rape, and they wanted to make sure children were involved. And then conversion comes as a function of a sort of a religious portal. There is no secular real portal other to become part of the community, which for folks, when I do lectures, oftentimes they do find it confusing. They can't quite figure out what we are because are we a people? Are we a religion? You're not everyone. We're not a race, certainly. So trying to understand this
Right.
dynamic in an organization like the Hebrew Free Loan, saying who's a Jew,
Right.
which definition. One of the reasons we can't figure out how many Jews there are depends what definition you would use to count.
It makes a difference, and for me, it just made a difference at this point in my life that I could actually identify myself that way and feel like I was being honest at least.
That's great. So we're going to do a ceremony. It's called a ceremony of it's a ceremony of affirmation, and it's adopting Judaism, and let me talk a little bit about it. We talked before to explore. So Mike wrote a paper about his particular journey. He's going to give an abbreviated version,
A summarized version. Yeah, it got to be a little long.
Right, but it's good because the other part of it was also, the reason I asked people to write it, it's not only for us, but it's also for you, that
Right.
it really understands it. Mike and I and Laura's wife, we've talked on the phone several times, it's FaceTime, and you've been studying. And then tonight we use a ceremony that's based upon the historic menorah. So many of us, when you hear the word menorah, you think Hanukkah, a 9-branch candelabra. But in the temple, and in temples even today, you'll see what's called a menorah, which is a 7-branch candelabra. And we're going to use that, and we'll have the helper candle, which is the tallest one. And then there'll be 2 candles, and this is going to be an interplay between the community of people who are here tonight and Mike, where there'll be a candle of the past. You'll light your candle of past. The community talks about its past. We'll light a candle for the present, and Mike will light a candle for the present, and then a candle for the future, and Mike will light a candle for the future and make the affirmation
Right.
of that. So it's because we've always seen this here as a mutual embrace versus a one-way embrace, and that's why we wanted to change the language of it and talk about time, because I think time really is part of the process of becoming acculturated.
Right. I agree.
And
I don't think you can do it overnight. It's got to be, you have to live it for however long it takes to feel part of the culture.
Right, and I think that also is important. Sometimes people will come, and it was interesting, a friend of mine who was a member of the congregation who did adopt Judaism, before she joined the congregation, she and I had this very long conversation that would really help frame some of the work that we did here. She had studied with an Orthodox rabbi, and the rabbi said, yeah, I'm ready to convert you. And she said, but I'm not ready. And she studied with a conservative rabbi who said, you're ready. And she said, no, I'm not ready. You might be ready. And what she said to me was, it's not about when you think I'm ready, it's when I think I'm ready.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I always ask people when we do work at Beth Adam is, what will help you feel most Jewish? Mm-hmm. I can say and do all kinds of incantations, but if it doesn't mean anything to you,
Right.
It's not transformative, because what's going to happen, and this is one of those rituals that is in fact transformative, where you start out one way and you leave another way.
Right.
We don't have a lot of those moments, like marriages like that. When you got married, you walk up the aisle as two single individuals, you walk back down the aisle as two married people. So it's very, very exciting. I'm looking forward.
I'm excited. Yeah, I am.
And
I'm looking forward to it.
That you were willing to travel, and Laura and Melissa were willing to travel here from your homes to come to Cincinnati, Ohio during hay fever season, allergy season, which is always a charming time to be in Cincinnati, and to share this with us online and with us at the Bricks and Mortar congregation. If you want, those of you who are watching, we do have on ourjewishcommunity.org, there is some information about adopting Judaism. I know some other folks who have actually posted. I don't know, we haven't talked about if we could post your...
Oh, definitely. And I've read quite a few of the other
Posts?
papers that you posted. So.
Okay, so that'd be great, because it's interesting. And I think, too, for those of us who've always been part of the Jewish community, I think this is also an interesting and important opportunity to pause to think of our own Jewishness. What does it mean to us? Sometimes, we don't, when you're raised in a particular tradition or in a particular place, you don't necessarily think about it. It's normative. It's what we know. It's who we are. But this gives us a chance to pause and say, so what does it mean to be Jewish? What does it mean to you to be Jewish? How does it feel? How do you understand it? And I thought your comments at the beginning about the Hebrew Free and Low Society are so important. We're not singular, siloed individuals. We're part of a community.
Right. Definitely. And it's... part of the process is being able to say, I am part of that community,
right.
And then being able to give back and serve that community in a way that you feel like you're doing something worthwhile, and you're not just an outsider trying to give charity or whatever.
Right. Because I think that's that piece of it, that we have a responsibility. Not only are we a part of a community, we have a responsibility to the community, that the community only functions when all of us take responsibility for some aspect of it and some part of it, and that we're contributed to it through donations, if that's what's necessary, or through time and energy, through a sense of connection, through chatting with one another and forming bonds with each other, visiting people who are sick, reaching out to those who are in need. That the Jewish community is strengthened by people who want to be part of the community,
right.
Who proudly and boldly stand up and say, I'm part of this community, and those who say, and I take responsibility for the community in which I live, and I'm going to do the kind of work that's necessary to make it a healthier, stronger, and more vital community.
I agree.
So I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to later on this evening. And we're going to continue our service with our memorial. There were names that were sent in. If you didn't send in a name, feel free to type them and share them with one another, deceased loved ones and friends and relatives that you hold in your hearts this night. The cycle of life unfolds. Just as we rejoice in new life, we mourn its final ending. The inevitable death of those whose lives have touched ours. Tonight we join voices with others as we say aloud the words which help us to recall those we've lost. We remember the moments we've shared, the laughter and the tears, the beauty and the pain. Inevitably, as our lives intertwined, as we have touched one another, we have been influenced, changed, enriched by their presence, and so as we mourn their loss, we celebrate their life. Thus the cycle continues, their lives remarking the continued unfolding of our own. We pause at this time to reflect upon those who are no longer among us. This moment of remembrance links life to life and generation to generation. We recall Vera Chesolo, Avraham Leibel ben Moshe Halevi, Elisheva Bas Avraham, Elaine Durst, Cindy, John Fielding, Eugene Oberding, Edith and Eugene Oberding Sr., Ethel and William Combs, Kathy Walters, Kathy Estes, John and Renalda Fielding. We also pause and recall those who've died as a result of violence and terror that mar our planet. Those who've died defending the principles of justice and peace and democracy. Those who have no one who we hold in our heart tonight. Recall as well, as someone wrote in, Isidore Sidman. We recall all of our loved ones who no longer walk among us. We carry within us the memory of so many who have touched our lives. And we recall to those who have no one to remember them this night. Ein b'dei ha'mavet ha'koach la'akor ma shetumun balev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Im dama'ot be'einenu, be'et evlenu. Nishno ha'zecher achuvenu. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Zeker tzadik livracha. May the memory of good people bless our days.
Let the Sabbath be a time for believing in what could be and seeing with new eyes. In this serious world, let us take ourselves less seriously. In these harsh times, let us listen for a soothing word. While the world around us unfolds in an instant, let us judge each other a little more slowly. Let the Sabbath shine a light into a corner of ourselves where hope is renewed. Let us remember a reason to be joyful, a way to be gentle. Let the Sabbath be a time for opening up. Let us find strength in our dreams and trust in our strength.
Great, thanks. And then we're going to continue with the challah. You're going to do the challah. I'm going to cover it. And for those who join us on a regular basis, know if it's sliced, it means there are services here at Beth Adam. So if you're in the greater Cincinnati area, come join us at 8 o'clock, 8:15. You can be part of the service of affirmation that Mike will be participating in. There you go. So,
All right.
So if you'll do that.
In Jewish tradition, we share the challah as we celebrate the Shabbat. We're reminded that challah, a twisted loaf of bread, sustains and nourishes the life of our bodies. May the sharing of this challah sustain and nurture our hunger for knowledge and understanding of the world around us. May the sharing of this challah sustain and nurture our connection to those close by and those separated by distances and by time. May the sharing of this challah encourage us to reach out to those across our rooms, across our hallways, to those across our desks and across the miles. May the sharing of this challah strengthen and enrich our coming week.
Baruch HaMalka Peinu, blessed is the work of our hands. Baruch Hazon HaAdam, blessed is the vision of our minds. Baruch Lechem HaAretz, blessed is the bread of the earth. And then if you have some wine or some juice, join with me. It's a custom to share wine or juice with family and friends and community. It reminds us that it's not enough for us to quench our physical thirst. We must nourish our spirit as well. As we celebrate Shabbat, may this juice or wine remind us to live our lives to the fullest and embrace the joys and pleasures that life offers. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within each person. And so we say l'chaim, to life, l'chaim. There we go. I told you it's 4 weeks old wine. Ooh, ooh. Doggy, that's good stuff. Really isn't. Sam, a couple of weeks ago, Sam, some of you may have remembered that Sam Cooper, the president of the congregation, was here, and he thought it was great that I got stuck with the wine. So I did that for you. The kind of rabbi I am. I drink lousy wine for people. So, let me make some announcements. Next week, Reverend Sharon Dittmar will be here. That's May 20th, a week from today. It's always fun to have Sharon with us. So join us. I'm not exactly sure what our topic's going to be, but whenever she's here, we always have a good conversation. If you've not done so, go to CincinnatiOJC.org, CincinnatiOJC.org, and the video with Bart Campolo is now posted. I've not yet posted a service with Bart, but if I may have mentioned it already. Bart is a chaplain, a humanist chaplain at the University of Southern California. What makes Bart's position interesting, prior to becoming a humanist chaplain at USC, Bart was an evangelical preacher for the majority of his life. He was a professional, really was a professional, as he says, a professional Christian who in his mid-40s realized he didn't believe and could no longer preach the gospel and do the work that he was doing, and he left it and became a humanist chaplain. Add to that the fact that Bart Campolo is the son of Tony Campolo, who is a major evangelical minister. And so Bart had talked to his father about leaving the church. So we did a short interview. It's posted. You should look at it. And there were 2 blocks associated as well, 2 individuals who attended the lecture and wrote about their reflections. What you'll see is the short 5-minute video that we did. On May 27th, not next Friday, but the following Friday, I'll be posting the short service that I pre-recorded with Bart. So you'll get a chance to interact with Bart a little bit more. But take a look at that interview. It's very interesting. Bart's a fascinating guy. You can go to his website, bartcampolo.org. I can't remember, but go. We have a link there. And if you've not taken a look at the Daniel Hope video, you should take a look at the Daniel Hope video as well. That's also an interview with Daniel Hope, the violinist, the virtuoso, who did a lot of work exploring music of the Holocaust. So explore. Always keep coming back to our Facebook page. It's always exciting to see the number of people that are involved with it. Your sharing with each other keeps growing the community and allows others to know that there's a voice that speaks to who we are as modern contemporary Jews. So to share, post, like, all those things make a difference, and they allow our community to become richer and fuller. And what's really exciting is to meet people who are participating on the other side of the camera, as we sometimes say, right?
Yeah.
So we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. I'm glad you're here too. Those of you who are watching, if you want to come to Cincinnati for services, we'd love to have you. Just talk to us, check with us. The high holidays are a time when community gets together. One of the things we recognize, though, that travel isn't always easy for everyone. There's some illness or distance or money or time affects it, and that's what our Jewish community allows us to do. It recognizes that the notion of community is different than that our ancestors understood. For them, it was about physical proximity. For us, it's about intellectual and emotional proximity. We choose to be together because we share a vision and we share a voice and we share an understanding of Judaism. So I'm delighted you're here.
Thank you very
you're
much.
all here as well. And we close with our final words. May we know blessings those who are near, and may we know blessings those who are far. And may the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. Shabbat Shalom.